Hello everyone, welcome to another Facebook Live. I'm just going to do a quick Halloween demonstration, but before we do I want to give you a sneaky peek of what's coming up. Been a bit naughty, I haven't seen what this looks like, so I hope it looks really designer. This is one of the frames that's been done by the lovely Jane Weatherspoon, and it really is a fine example of all of our different Halloween dies. So there's lots of attention to detail here. It's the little tiny bats that you can see. Also the silhouette designs and the owl up in the top. Of course we've got pumpkins. It wouldn't be Halloween without pumpkins. And then we've got our cute little witch and our bottles of potions and all of those fabulous things. I'm going to show you the dies in more detail so you're getting a sneaky peek before the show. And I'd like to show you just one more of these fabulous frames. And I think this is just incredibly clever. So what Jane has done is she's taken a design, it's actually a witch's hat, and she slit into it and put this net in here, which is a piece of card that's just been scrunched up and you can see it's the card because it's quite stiff. Little bats all inside. And then this was a silhouette that we saw earlier with the owls. She's put multiple of those inside here. We've got the potion bottles again, and there's our cute little witch and also the cauldron and the cat. The smile on the cat is just fabulous. The little bats are peeking out from inside the bat cave, which is part of the witch's hat. And it's a really, really clever design. Taking something that's quite inexpensive, adjusting it. She's put two little brads, one on either side to hold the hat in place, and then just slit into the top of it and then making that the entrance into the cave. Really clever design and great for you to be able to see in detail. And we'll get the girls to do some close-ups for you so that you can really see how good that is. So, of course, we've got charisma. And so your charisma, you can see here, there's one for each of the different dies. And this isn't a huge collection. It's very much a small collection that you can use and make the most of with the dies that you've got. So you've got the little mice there and the little kittens. I think the easiest way of you seeing all of this is by me showing you the actual designs. So I'm just going to pop those to one side and let's take a look at these. So as I go through them, this will give you a really good idea of what we've got for you. So this is our Halloween spider's web, and I'm actually modelling this for you so you can see what it looks like. But we've got 3 spider's webs, and we've also got a web flourish, so a little bit different. Wanted to make it so it wasn't just Halloween, so you can use it all year round, and that is the first of the collections. The second one we've got for you is the bedtime story die. This one's really cute, and you've got the little bat here and the baby bats being read a story. Then we go on to all of our accessories. So this is a trick or treat collection, and this one really has got lots of different elements that are going to be great and fun to do and fun to work with. We've got, this is the second one that shows you all of those actually coloured, so you can see what you can do with them. And it's a big collection, and this in its own right would be enough to just create some fabulous cards. Then we're going to go on to the silhouette die. Now, you saw a couple of different ways of using this in the pictures that we looked at, and I think it's a very useful collection and designs. And we could, being really careful with the way that we've worked, maybe by adding little leaves and also some flowers to this, we could take this from being Halloween, snipping away at the gravestones, and it then just becomes a piece of just scenery into the woodland or into the countryside. This one is our spooky silhouette, and again, we could be snipping out the pieces that we've got here. You've got the little tiny bats. Now, these are fabulous. Look at that. That's a little bat. And you can use those all over your designs, but they will actually leave you with the aperture in the card if you choose to. So you can have them and you can stick them on top, or you can leave them inside. Then we've got the potion bottles. So think about these. So this is one where I think this is a clever collection for Halloween. So really good little potions, But again, what about putting some flowers on them and making those into perfume bottles, not just for Halloween? And then our cute little ghost, and I love his Alice band. He's just the cutest thing. He's got a pair of ears, and those little ears, and the trick or treat, and the pumpkin under his arm. And it reminds me of, I'll try and see if I can find the picture and get it put on here. It reminds me of oh gosh, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, having a dinner party where I decided to serve pumpkin soup in pumpkins. I had Nancy Watts staying with us at the time, and Nancy and I spent a week carving these blinking pumpkins. And then afterwards, we'd all eaten the soup. It didn't stay hot. We'd eaten the soup and didn't know what to do with all the pumpkin cases. So we ended up filling a wheelie bin just with the rest of the pumpkins. I'm sure I've got a good picture somewhere of us holding the pumpkins to our noses, so watch out for that. This is our pumpkin stack. Always want to have a stack of pumpkins at the front door, but then can't bring myself not to eat them. But you can certainly have them on your cards, and don't they just look fabulous? And it's the little cat. The little cats is the detail on these designs that are really going to make things look fantastic. And here we've got our pumpkin die on its own. So this is part of the pumpkin die set. Then we've got the black cat and the little mouse. Again, really cute designs and a fresh item number. And then finally, the little witch. So that's our selection of new 2020 dies for Halloween. And the idea here is that they can be used to, certainly things like the spider's web, you can have a bit of fun with those as well. Or you can also make Halloween invitation cards. You could be sending Happy Halloween just because we can't all get together. But the idea is it's a little bit of fun. So this isn't scary Halloween, this is fun Halloween. And it gets serious when we start looking at the graduated card, because the price point for this is so affordable. But you've got 4 colours and you're getting 12 of each. And you can see how that graduation just literally lends itself to the really beautiful shading that is so smooth that it goes from start to finish. And I'm just going to go through each of them, and then I'm going to show you how they all line up together. So I'm going to pop these to one side. Quite happy now. My desk's starting to look really busy and really full. I want to show you how these colours lend themselves. So look at how that would go. If I do this for you and I come all the way across here, you can see just how beautiful that is. And it's that really soft vignette, that colour, the way it ends, the way it starts, that really makes this work. Then I'm going to take the black and let you look at how that blue and the black go together. And one of my personal favourites, which is this one. So I'm going to swap these over and I'm going to put these together, and you can see again, we've got a really lovely, nice vignette. So I'm going to work with the green and the brown, and let's get making and let's get crafting. And the girls have been great here in the office this week. They've prepped all this for me. So I'm going to talk you through what the prep has been and then how we're going to assemble the card. So because it is Halloween and all of that light and dark and the shimmer actually makes such a difference, I've got, first of all, a piece of black card that we're going to put some tape on. And I'd just like to talk to you about finger lift tape, because you'll see how this is the actual sticky bit. And it doesn't go right to the edge of this carrier. So I can put my finger under here, I can slide my finger under. That's where the tape is actually up to. And when I pull this off, it's really easy to work with. But because you can slide your finger underneath, it's easy to pull the back off. So I'm going to place this on top of this piece of black card. And trusting the girls as I do, I know it'll be absolutely perfect. And there it is, probably better than if I'd done it myself. And now I've got a piece of silver mirri. And what happens when you scuff the edge with your scissors? And that's what has happened here. So, oh, I thought that was a Halloween trick on me then. So by scuffing it, because we've got a foiled carrier on the top, so it's a layered piece of card, and I'm just going to slide my finger under here and pull this back. And you can see that's actually the foil that we've got there. It pushes the foil up and it gives you this edge to it. So it actually really suits Halloween. I'm going to take my pokey tool and just use that and pierce into the tape. Now by piercing into the tape, you can see how easy it is to lift. So this little technique, you take the point of the tool, you place it in at an angle and you just flick it up, and that allows you to get that tape off really easily. I'm just going to place this down, not worrying that I've got that tear in it because remember it is Halloween, so I think it suits it. And now I've got a piece of card that would be going on top, but I'd like to use this piece to get the effect that I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my card and I'm going to tear it around the edges. Now to make sure that it's slightly smaller, I'm just tearing it like this. All of these lovely fibres, we'll get some of this and we'll make it a little bit smaller in a minute. But you're going to see how when I put this onto this piece of black, it really will be very close to the size that I want. So there you can see, again, I'm going to put the piece of card next to it and I'm going to tear, and I'm letting that tear quite randomly. But this is what happens. It's almost like tearing up against a ruler because it won't slide underneath where this piece of cardstock is. So it's a really good way of getting something that's the right size without us having that randomness and it going off at a real angle, which we don't want. So if I now take that and I place it on here, look how close it is to the perfect size. And that's because I used this piece of card to actually hold it while I was doing the tearing. So more of my finger lift tape here, slide in my pokey tool underneath, and look at the speed with which you can do that. Makes it easy to work. Let's take the black and pop that on. And again, that silver edge really bringing it to life. And then I've got my piece of torn edge. And I'm going to use my tape going round so that I've got the effect I want. I'm going to take the backing off it. So I'm just going to make sure I've lifted that. Peel it in one go. So again, getting the benefit of the speed of crafting. And then let's just do this. Using the pokey tool, I'm just going to roll these edges just to get almost like the pages of a book that's turned back. Just here again, rolling it round. Perhaps you might want to do this before you take the back off the tape and you won't end up with your fingers all being stuck, but that's good to go. So I've got a really great foundation for the rest of the design. Now I've got to look at what I'm going to put. So I've got my spider's web. Well, I'm going to take the spider's web so it actually encapsulates this torn edge here, and then it's giving me more dimension. Really feels like that the background's going into the distance. Look at the difference when I bring it forward. It's sitting on top. This becomes a layer in line with this one, whereas when I put it up here, this layer automatically looks like it's being pushed to the back. And then I've got the black as well. And a little technique you could use, you could put both of these together and we could just get a little bit of shape in them. So they're coming away from the page, so it's lifted up like this. It gives you again a different dimensional look, but I really like the way the silver works there. And I'm just going to tuck the black behind it and have it flat. So I'm building my layers up. I've got another little spider's web that I'm going to put here with my little ghost. Look at that, cute. Now, I'm not going to push this, I'm not going to glue this down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the tape that I've got on the back to hold it down. So we're going to have a little bit of movement on this card. Of course, it could be completely flat, but I don't want that. I want to be able to accentuate these little pieces where I've lifted it and the foil that's coming to the front. And where the foil is just lifted forward, we're creating little shadows. So we've got that sort of spooky, atmospheric effect that you get when you've got little shadows. Right, then our tape again. Whoops, nearly lost one of our embellishments. So into the backing paper and just take that off. And this is the other thing, is you don't have to actually peel it off your pokey tool. It almost does it by itself. So that's going to go down there, and while I'm pushing it down, it's holding that in place. So you can see the spider's web is almost following the ghost. It's like he's walked through it rather than it actually being on the background. And one of the reasons I wanted to do it like this was because you'll be noticing it's very fine. So even if I took just a 1mm foam pad, it's going to be quite difficult to place that down and not have the foam pad showing somewhere. You could use silicone, but this is a much more effective result by doing that. So I've got to look at what I'm going to do and how I'm going to hold down the pieces that I've got up here. So I've got some little pumpkins, and I'm going to put a couple of little pumpkins in amongst the spider's web. I'm going to put a couple just behind it, and then I've got a pumpkin little piece of bunting that we can see here. So they don't look like they're out of place. They don't look like they shouldn't really be there. And we'll just get the backs off a couple of these because they've been layered up to get the dimension. So let's put that from there across here. And I'm going to show you another version of this that the girls did earlier so that you can see the different effects that you can get. And the foam has only been put on every other pumpkin. You don't need it on every single one. I'm going to overlap them like they're Chinese lanterns so that we've got our pumpkin bunting. Make sure that tucks underneath so it doesn't look like we ran out. And let's get that little pumpkin hanging down. And now these ones that I've got here, well, they're in the perfect place for me to then be able to take another one and use that. So I'm tucking it under that pumpkin there. I'm going to put another one up there to hold it in place. So it's lifted, so I've not used any silicone or any foam actually on this piece. I'm going to take another pumpkin and I'm going to put it there. So it's over the top. So I now really have got that in position. And then I've got my silver one. And the silver one is going to go over the top of the existing pumpkins. So it's like our bunting's coming from behind. And I'm just going to take this little piece and I'm going to decide where that's going to go, and it's going to go across there. So let's take that. And then I'll hold this up in a second so you can just see how everything's going to hold in place, but we haven't actually glued down any of the pieces other than the actual little ghosts and the pumpkins. So I've got a real plethora of pumpkins all entangled in our spider's web, but these are all loose but held in firmly in place. And now we need to finish off decorating the bottom, and that means I need our cauldron, which I've got, and another little pumpkin, which is going to be the decoupage for our little ghost. So let's pop you on there. And I've got a broomstick, which definitely need to be Oh, I could wonder if he could hold that as well. I think he probably could actually. So I'm just going to see if this would be a good thing, if we can get this to happen. I'm going to go under here. I'm going to lift up the ghost's arm. So I'm going to go into one of the slots that's cut as part of the decoupage design. Ouch, try not to stab yourself. That would have been proper Halloween, wouldn't it? Then there we go. So I've tucked it under his arm. Love that. So he's good, isn't he? Holding a pumpkin and a brush. Right, I've got my spider. Well, the spider you'd think would go on the spider's web. It looks like it's having its lunch with all of those pumpkins. So I think that's actually quite a good idea. I don't think spiders eat pumpkins, but this one does. And let's get a little bit of our foam for that. So we'll have him there. So again, come back to this pokey tool. So in and just lift up that tape. Whoops, come on tape. You're normally much more accommodating than this. There we go. So I'll just put our spider, let's have him, yeah, we'll have him having his dinner in there. Our cauldron, that needs to be stuck down. We'll get you there. And I've got a little sentiment. Now, I could have put my shadow of my little ghost behind it, or I could even have the shadow of the ghost behind here, but actually, I don't really think it needs it. I think I'd like to leave it just like that. Maybe put one or two little bats on, and this would be the best way of picking them up, is to use your pokey tool like this and a tiny dot of glue on them before you put the pokey tool in. And they could be like the steam that's coming out of the cauldron. But let me show you this one. So you can see there how you've got all the different elements. And then I'm just going to go to another design that the girls did earlier. And you can see the pumpkins, again the spider is up there. A few more different designs because they've added in some extra embellishments that I've chosen not to use. And there we've got, whoops, and the bats have gone home to roost.